All right, welcome to today's sculpting session. This one we're continuing to work on the pose for the March Sculpture Challenge. And if you're interested, you can join that over on Patreon, where we'll have lots of these exclusive challenges. And yeah, some of them, the February one was free for everybody, but I want to do some exclusive challenges as well, and so there will be a little bit of both. And we're just going to keep going on this female figure. See if we can't get things a little bit better. And this one I'm going to leave up. So this one will be a free live stream, but if you want to see the live streams, sculpting sessions, there's 3 of them to get it up to this point that are just over on Patreon. And so if you're interested in that, you can find those over on Patreon if you subscribe. And $10 a month for these sculpting challenges and to participate in everything. And we should be doing more. Those months that aren't too busy, I'm trying to do more of these challenges. Maybe each month, though. I don't want to commit to that for fear that I fall short of it, because I'll be doing some other things as well. But I really appreciate the support, anybody that supports. And if you're interested in learning sculpting, of course you can find my sculpting courses on my Gumroad, Andrew Joseph Keith Gumroad, and there's links in the should be links in the video description for that, or you can comment if you can't find the links and I'll send it to you. Let's see, I'm trying to felt like there needed to be a little bit more mass here in the glutes, and just looking at the figure from all around, trying to add clay where it's missing. And then back here are the sculpting tools, the AJK dab tools. These are handmade. There's some medium ones, long, thin ones, and large ones. And these are available over on the Kickstarter. I'm doing a Kickstarter for those. And so if you're interested, let me know and I'll send you a link to that Kickstarter so that you can get some of those tools, my own variation of my favorite sculpting tool, and be happy to get you one of those if you're interested. It's fun to have, it's always fun to get new tools. It's like Christmas. So if you're interested, you can support on Kickstarter, or you can message me on Instagram if you want to do it through PayPal or something. Some people have issues doing it through Kickstarter, and so if you message me on Instagram and you'd like to get them, we could do it through PayPal or something else, and that works fine. So just let me know. Okay, let's add in.
I'll do that.
You want to hold me?
Yes.
Okay, just a little bit. Zoom in a little bit. So let's see. Maybe do some more work on the portrait. Still needs to be widened a little bit. Cheekbones are the widest part of the facial mass. I'm going to It gets a little bit wider as it goes back towards the back of the head. We could add some more on the cheekbones. And probably some thickness to the back of the head. Right now it's still a bit thin. The widest point is going to be on the back. When looking at it from the front, the widest point is just behind the ears, back of the head. We can make that wider. We still haven't quite gotten into the texturing part, though we'll probably be starting that pretty soon.
Hey, no punching. Come on down, I'm getting tired. Wrapping the blanket.
Okay, let's see. Add some more thickness to the mound of the mouth, just with little tiny pieces of clay. Looking at the silhouette or the side view, and I'm not worried about getting a perfect likeness of the person. I just want a portrait that looks natural and feels natural. Which can be a challenge in and of itself. And we need some more in the jaw. So people have asked if they were going to get one of the sculpting courses, what should they start with? And there's the figure sculpting fundamentals, the portrait sculpting, the hand sculpting course, and then the stone sculpting course. And I would start with the figure sculpting course, just because that's the kind of foundational course where I tried to give all of the basics, kind of building armatures, simplifying the figure, a bunch, loads and loads of visual information and everything to get started. That was kind of my framework for doing that course. And the portrait obviously is very important for anything figurative. So I'd maybe move on to that. And then, depending on if you're interested in stone, I mentioned in the video talking about the bundle that it's cheaper. I have the sculpting bundle that you can get all the courses, which is significantly cheaper. But that the stone course is probably the one that could financially pay off the most, because I've had an easier time selling stone sculptures than other sculptures. I think just because stone has a weight and a presence that is undeniable. So the stone course or the hand sculpting course you might do next if you're going to keep going on the courses. And it's really, more than purchasing the courses, it's really just setting aside time to sculpt. That's what I'm hoping to do with these challenges, is just to encourage people to set aside time regularly to sculpt, to make things. Because if you can do that, then you'll improve, and if you can't, then you won't. It's all about the physical doing and taking the time to actually move things around, build that muscle memory. It's looking good. Somebody says, thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, it's coming along. I'm getting pretty close to starting to texture it. Maybe just a few more pieces of clay, and then I can start the work of figuring out what's happening with the texture and getting a little bit more clear on the forms. Let's see.
Tonight.
No, not right now. So this here is the one that we did for the February Sculpture Challenge. I liked how that one came out, and I still want to finish it. I just have to do a little bit more on the hair and the hands and the just touching up the drapery. But that was a fun challenge, the first one of the year. And so I'm hoping to do more of these. I think it is beneficial for me, certainly, because then I'm, also force myself to do a little bit more. Next one will probably be a male figure, since we've done a couple female figures. So we'll try to find some references. It says, I like the rotating figure on your device while sculpting. Yeah, it's nice to have it rotating. Then also sometimes it's good to be able to pause it and just focus on one angle to make sure that you're capturing it the right way from that angle. Let me cover this base a little bit with clay. Make it look a little bit better. So having a base like this kind of lifts the sculpture up a little bit, and because it's a block of wood, I don't need to use as much clay when doing it. Let's see. I'm looking for asymmetries or things that don't feel quite right. Maybe I can draw in the center line again. Usually you want to have most of the bending and twisting in the area between the pelvis and the rib cage.
I'll do that. How cute.
Okay, maybe we can start the texturing work just a little bit. Zoom in. Want to help, James?
Mhm.
Do you think it goes there?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Oh, me.
Does that make it look better?
No. Me. Fits. Took me there.
Oh.
Oh.
Hey, don't drop it.
Help me. Help me.
You want to help you?
Yes.
Okay, we can put it on the base like this. Spread it.
Yeah.
Is that where it goes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Spread it.
I do it. Like that.
Yep, like that.
I do one.
James, my arm's getting tired. You're getting big.
Do one. Spread it.
I think there's enough clay there. How about you put it on the base? I think there's enough clay right there.
I do it.
Can you put it down here? Oh, my arm's getting tired, James.
How'd you that? How'd
No,
you?
no time. No tantrums. Come on now. Go up to Amanda.
Oh, Daddy.
No tantrums. He's not happy. He'll be okay. Okay. As I'm texturing, I'm trying to come at it from different angles, different directions. Make it feel a little bit more organic. Wrapping around the form, so the leg's coming this way, so I'm trying to wrap around that. Somebody's asking, sir, in college, when I do a full life study, I get problems in judging the volume of the rib cage, pelvis, etc., and difficulty in sculpting contour line. I just get confused with where to add. So yeah, it's a difficult thing, and so I would recommend. Well, I check out the lessons. You talked about the primary forms, the head, the rib cage, and the pelvis. I have free lessons on my channel that go over each of those and simplify them. So being able to simplify is really important. And then also just checking yourself to make sure that they aren't too large. Better for them to be too small, but the height's correct. So too thin, but an accurate height, like for the rib cage, for the pelvis. You want all the heights to be accurate, but a little bit thin if you're building additive, if you're building with any type of clay. But you want to have those heights accurate. And so there's also, in my ebooks, an Artist X Revision, there's diagrams, and there's even a free PDF that goes over the cranial unit system on Gumroad. So that one takes the cranial unit, which you can find, it's the widest point, the back of the head here, make a circle with that or a sphere, and then it shows how large the rib cage is compared to that cranial unit and how large the pelvis is. So I think those visuals are really helpful to think, oh, okay, if the head is this wide, then the rib cage is going to be, 1.5 about, or maybe a little bit more, 1 3/4. The pelvis will be just a little bit more on females, a little bit less on males. So having a canon of proportion in mind to check yourself when you're not quite sure and when you're struggling is really helpful. I definitely recommend getting that free PDF on the cranial unit system, the Robert Beverly Hale cranial unit measuring system. And then it's just practice. Your eye takes time to train, and so observing, looking through if you're in a college class, a lot of the times you'll be doing it from a live model, and so you're able to look through your sculpture at the model, closing one eye, and then looking at the model through your sculpture to judge those things that are accurate and the things that are off. That's really, really important. Same thing with contours as far as building that muscle memory, that eye, the artist's eye, just takes time. It's just a skill that takes time to develop, just like any other skill. So the more you do it, the better you get. And so I would say, just build that muscle memory and really be thinking as you're working, like, okay, am I actually representing things as I'm seeing them, or am I making things up? Am I, making things not in a way that I'm observing from the reference, just kind of playing at it, but not observing? Because that's, that's something that we can all be guilty of from time to time, is not really looking, not really seeing what's happening, and then just kind of guessing and trying to imagine what's happening. But it's hard to imagine because the body's a lot more complicated than we realize. So being able to check yourself either through the sight method, where you're looking through the figure at your sculpture, or with a canon of proportion that you have in mind, to where you're able to get it to at least resemble an average that makes us feel comfortable visually. If it's close to an average, then it'll feel right. Even if there's a model, sometimes the models have short legs or long torso, or really long arms or something. But if we have the canon of proportion, and if we get it to close to an average, then even if it's not exactly the proportions of the model, it'll feel right. Because we recognize that as like, oh, that's like the average size comparison of the head, rib cage, and pelvis, and so it feels and looks right. And so those are some things that come to mind, just going through their lessons on the primary forms of the body and doing those assignments. But it's difficult, don't expect sculpting to be easy. Don't expect life to be easy. It's difficult, it's challenging. And if you just say like, oh, okay, I know this is going to be a challenge, but I'm going to have fun with it, and I'm going to try to just do one thing better with each sculpture. If you do that and then you do hundreds of sculptures, then you'll be hundreds of times better by the end. You'll really improve. But I'm not going to say it's easy, and I'm not going to say I'm the best. I'm really not the best at seeing those things. I still exaggerate the forms. I mean, I've gotten better over the years as I've practiced, but it's still difficult to get accurate proportions, especially if I don't start off with a accurate wire armature. I've gotten to the point where when I start off with an armature, I kind of know where things ought to be, but if I'm just sculpting without one, or sculpting from life without an armature, it's tricky. It's difficult. So that push and pull, that eye, sculptor's eye, comes with time and a lot of effort. And if you're interested in getting that repetition in, definitely recommend joining the Patreon, joining the Discord to share your work, and then joining these challenges. Some of them will be free challenges, some of them will be exclusive to Patreon patrons. And so just getting those repetitions in of doing many figures. I mean, if we do this once a month, I'll maybe, I don't know if I'll be able to stick to that, but if we do, then, and if you do one a month, that's 12 sculptures by the end of the year, and you'll be a lot better. You'll be, maybe with each sculpture you get 1% better, and so, you know, after 10 sculptures, if we do, say, 10 in the year, then you're 10% better. And then if you do that for 10 years, then you're 100% better. And so it's just those little improvements add up over time. Sir, how can I grow faster than my classmates? I get demotivated with their progress. Nobody corrects the mistakes of each other in class. If someone feels off, they don't tell. If something feels off, they don't tell. Well, you can ask. Yeah, you can ask. If you see that somebody's sculpture is better, that they just seem to understand what they're doing a little bit better, you can say, hey, you know, your sculpture is feeling more accurate and I'm really struggling with mine. Is there any tips, or what feels off to you? And, you know, they might say something. So, you know, giving critique is hard, so sometimes the thing that they'll point out is not actually the thing that's off or the thing that'll make your sculpture better. So realizing that sometimes critiquing is its own skill and not everybody's good at it. So even if they're good at sculpting, they might not be good at critiquing. But you can kind of get a sense of who's got a good eye and who can kind of point out the specific things that are off. But just ask people for their input, and that really helps. Being humble and saying like, hey, I'm really struggling with this. What do you think would improve? But then, you know, if you want to improve faster than other people, you just have to do it more than other people. So it's just that time of doing it and, you know, sculpting more. Because if you're sculpting more, and if you're thinking about it more, and if you're building that muscle memory more, then you'll get better faster. Everybody kind of improves at their own pace, but, you know, if you're doing more than everybody else, then there's no way they're going to stay ahead for very long. It's just not how things work. You know, the people that work hard get ahead eventually, even if it takes some time. And it does. It always takes time. But I would say, like, there's, you know, the playlists that I have on this channel, the sculpting playlists, they're free, and they have loads of video lessons that go over all of these things, the things that you might be struggling with, you know, the primary forms of the body, and the contours, looking at the contours. And there's apps. There's like the DaVinci Eye app that you can use kind of as a cheat sheet. I'd try not to make it a crutch, but every once in a while checking yourself and saying like, oh, like it's off for this reason, by taking a photo of the reference and then overlaying it with a photo of the sculpture. It's not a perfect system, so you still do have to develop your eye, but it is a way to kind of check yourself and say, oh, I thought I was more accurate, but here I can see that these areas are not working, or the balance isn't right, or the proportions aren't right. And so that app is helpful. Or just, you know, taking pictures of your model, taking pictures of your sculpture, overlaying them, changing the opacity to be able to see through the references to your sculpture. That can be helpful. But I mean, there's no substitute for just time and effort. Not just time, but time, like purposeful time, watching a video lesson on sculpting, one of the sculpting video lessons that I have on the channel, and then trying to apply that in the next hour of sculpting. Like, try to really apply what you learned maybe going back and watching the lesson a couple times as you're sculpting, and then really trying to put that information into your sculpture, and that'll solidify it more than if you just watch. So you want to do better, you want to do better faster, you just have to do more and more consistently. So maybe, maybe you and your classmates are working, 3 hours twice a week. But if you, maybe you can listen to an audiobook. Maybe you have a audiobook that goes over, some of the stuff for another class that you can listen to while you're sculpting or something, and just put in the extra time and do a couple extra hours of sculpting. Can't really do that if the model's not there, because then you usually end up messing up your sculpture. So that's not always the case. But doing doing other studies from references or from a single photo, like a drawing that you like, and then trying to do a gesture study from that, those things can really help over time if you do those consistently. It's all about consistency, just like anything else, just like exercise or saving money. If you save a little bit consistently and you always spend a little bit less than what you make, then you'll be wealthy. Like, you just will. It's just mathematical that if you spend less than you make, then your savings and your investments, they'll grow, and you'll always have money in the bank. But it comes from that habit of just doing it regularly and making it a habit. But it's hard, it's hard to put the work in for any skill. But a lot of people think, like, oh, how can I get better than everybody else while working less than everybody else? And I'm that way too. I think I'm guilty of that as well. How can I get better, or how can I earn more, or how can I improve in some way without having to work harder? And sometimes the answer is, well, you just need to work harder. You just need to try more and do better and do it more consistently. And that's not always what we want to hear, but sometimes it is how it is. I feel like I always make the feet too large. Your feet are still feeling a little bit monstrous. But yeah, asking for critiques. If they don't tell you something's off, then just ask. That's a good skill to have. And most people, they maybe won't volunteer critiques. I think it's a little bit rude to, tell an artist, oh, this is what's wrong with your work, if they didn't ask. So artists should ask. They should ask, hey, what do you think feels off? Or if you could change something, what would you change about this? And most people, if you ask, then they'll feel like, oh, this person cares about my opinion, and they're going to help and try to provide good information. So just asking for a critique is a good piece of advice. Somebody's asking, can we make this using the natural soil found in the fields instead of store-bought clay? Yeah, you can use whatever clay you have. In fact, I wanted to do a video. I still hope to do a video at some point of getting natural clay from the yard or from nearby and making a sculpture out of it. It's just, you know, it just takes the time to go and find the natural clay and separate it out, and sometimes there's sand or other things that need to be removed, and then doing it. But yeah, natural clay is great, and it's also a lot more flexible. You know, it can get a lot softer, it can get a lot harder than oil-based clay. A good water, you know, a good natural clay is really nice. And it can be fired if you have access to a kiln, so, or even pit fired, though I'm not an expert at that, but I do want to try that as well, to get natural clay and then just pit fire it and see if I can't do it without breaking the sculpture, which will be tricky, but we'll see if that ends up happening. I'll probably break the sculpture, but that's okay. It'll be a good experiment. But yeah, I'd say absolutely you can use just clay from a, you know, nearby. A lot of the times there's clay around riverbeds or just in the ground if you know where to dig. Typically areas that kind of crack when, like, they dry out and then they crack, like in the desert. When you see that, you know that it's probably clay. So I'm saying thank you so much. I wanted to share my work so you can critique my work. If you want to do that, join Patreon at $15 a month, and then you can email me. And those patrons at $15 a month, they get access to like specific critiques, and then I'll message back and give specific critiques on those sculptures. And then you can also share it with the Discord community. That's free, but I don't guarantee that I'll respond always to those critique, because I do want to give something extra to those people that subscribe on Patreon, and critiques as part of that. So you might consider doing that. So he says, come to Oklahoma and we have clay for soil. Yeah, a lot of places have a lot of clay. You can find clay pretty much most places if you know where to look. With, I guess, a few exceptions. I guess if there's a lot of desert sand or something, then, or if it's mostly rocky ground, then there might not be as much. But yeah, natural clay is great. I need to do some more sculptures with it. Kind of rolling the tool across the surface to try to blend in the forms, anatomy, and those types of things. Grabbing some clay if I need to fill in some of these areas. Oklahoma. My brother's in Oklahoma right now. Is it Oklahoma? Yeah. Oklahoma on his mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So if you see one of those people in white shirts and ties, the little black plaque in their pocket, might be my brother over in Oklahoma. I'm just kind of rolling things around. Trying to soften the forms that I've laid in. Coming at it from different directions. So it says we have a temple about 10 miles from my house. Oh yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, ours is like 3 hours away, though. I think one is planned to be built in Des Moines, which would be a lot closer than the. Well, yeah, I mean, one has been announced to be built here in Des Moines, Iowa. Should be closer than it has been. I had the opportunity to take a tour before it was consecrated. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I think they're doing that as well with the Salt Lake Temple, which was, one of the early temples built. And they have been doing some construction on it and kind of shoring it up for some earthquakes and other things that could happen in Utah. And so I think they're going to do, or they are doing where non-members can go and walk through and see the temple before it's consecrated. Once it's consecrated, then it's just members that go and perform the ordinances there or do the work for themselves or those that have passed on is what is primarily done in the temples. But yeah, beautiful buildings, beautiful buildings. A lot of the times they have beautiful art too. I'd love to try to get some of my art or sculpture in a temple at some point, though I don't know what the process would be for that. Yeah, beautiful buildings. Somebody's saying, why are you stuck with small statues? Well, I wouldn't say I'm stuck with it. I can do larger ones as well, but smaller is quicker and requires less clay, so I do that a lot of the times for demos or for these challenges. Just for saving time and resources and money. So sometimes small is good to get some practice and not use too much material. And finish it a little bit quicker. But I've done some larger sculptures, done some larger stuff in stone. Need to start some more stone sculptures for the show that I have coming up in August. Need to do some more. That's the challenge with sculpting. You always just gotta do more and more. Yeah, if you ever have a chance to go to a open house of a temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I definitely recommend it. They're beautiful buildings. You know, we have our meeting houses that are for everybody, that everybody's welcome in those. The temples are special. And, you know, those open houses they do for each temple before it's dedicated. Somebody's asking, since you have a course on Proco, I was curious, is the payout good there? How much did you earn from it? Well, I'm not on Proco anymore. I was removed from the platform for offending some leftists on my personal Instagram. So the owner didn't like the comments that I made or the way I responded to people attacking me for sculpting Charlie Kirk. And so he removed me from the platform. So I'm not there anymore. The income was okay. It wasn't the best. It was I would say not enough to survive on with a family. There had to be some income coming from other places, and but it was fairly consistent, which was nice while it lasted. So I'd say, you know, if you can, if you're thinking on building a course or something, I'd try to do it as much as you can on your own. That way you have a little bit more control over it, because it was a big blow financially to have it on another platform and then be deplatformed, which I guess can happen anywhere. You know, I'm on Gumroad now, and they could also decide to deplatform at any moment. So that's kind of the risk with online content and online courses, is you're kind of at the mercy of some of these other platforms. How do you make money for daily life through this art? Well, that's a good question. How do I? Well, you know, I do sell the courses still through Gumroad, and so if anybody's interested, you can purchase there. That's some of the income. I do usually at least one sculpture show a year. That's usually focused more on the stone sculpting side of things, and I'm trying to grow my Patreon as well as my YouTube channel to also subsidize that income with a monthly subscription. You know, those are really helpful because then you're a little bit more aware of what the income's going to be month to month. Whereas the one-time sales is a little bit more hit and miss. You don't know as much, but you know, kind of generally the life of the artist is more feast to famine between sales. I've also done commissions. You know, I'd like to do more commissions, but I haven't done as many as I should be, or I haven't advertised for it probably as much as I should. Should run ads for doing some commission sculptures. But it's hard, you know, monetizing art is difficult, so if you want an easy way to make money, sculpture is probably not the industry to get into. It's more like for me, it's just like, oh, I'd be miserable doing other things, but I'll probably end up doing some other things. But something I probably should have worked more on is creating multiple revenue streams, and so doing things like, you know, having courses, but also doing the month-to-month Patreon patrons, and then ebooks, and you know, affiliate income from YouTube and advertising for products and those types of things. So it's kind of something you got to be thinking about as an artist, like what are things that, like niches that I could get into, things that I could sell to create multiple sources of income. That's kind of a lot of the time that's necessary, or, you know, different galleries to be in, different ways to make money that way. I haven't really gone the gallery route too much, but maybe that's something I should look into more. Okay, I think I'm gonna end it there. So again, if you're interested in doing these types of challenges, over on Patreon at $10 a month, we'll do some of these exclusive ones. I'll have some other, maybe the next one will be free, probably a male figure, but I try to do both. And for this one, I'm going to be giving away one of these sculpting tools, the AJK dab tool, a dab sculpting tool that I have been making. There's also a Kickstarter for that, so be sure to check that out if you're interested. Like to do more of these tools, and maybe also sculpting like kits that might be fun with some armatures or things. So support if you can get some of the sculpting tools. That's really helpful, either on Patreon or either on Kickstarter, or if you'd prefer to do it through PayPal. Some people have issues with figuring out Kickstarter, so if you'd rather do it through PayPal or another Venmo or another payment option, just message me on Instagram, AndrewJosephKeith15, and we can get you those tools if you're interested. And I appreciate anybody that supports that way. That's another, you know, I've been trying to do more things to earn money since the switch up in income, or the loss of income. So these making tools is something I want to see if I can make some extra money doing that and provide something that hopefully people find useful. I really like these tools, and so I wanted to share them. So I appreciate anybody that gets those. Let's see, is there anything else? Yeah, check out my sculpting courses. Figure Sculpting Fundamentals is a great place to start, or if you want them all, you can bundle and save. If you get them all, then you get a discount. And you can find all those on my Gumroad. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for questions. It says, I found your channel last week and bought my first clay a few days ago. Thanks. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad there's people finding the channel. So I appreciate that, and appreciate the questions and comments during the live stream. And I hope everybody can stay creative and stay productive, and hopefully I'll see you again soon in another